So many of the things that I know as an entrepreneur and a business owner and a dream chaser, I wouldn't know. And they have helped me tremendously if it wasn't for mentors. But a lot of the stuff that I know doesn't work is also because of mentors.
Mentors and coaches are a double-edged sword. On one hand, you need them. Definitely. And some of them suck.
Next Level Nation, today for episode number 2243, I'm out in the wild in a hotel right now, so audio and video are going to look a little bit different. Today's episode, the pros and cons of mentors. The reason I'm out here in New Jersey getting all the feels of travel. I used to travel a lot to New Jersey. When I had my suicidal ideation, I was sitting on the edge of a hotel bed similar to the one not 3 feet from me. So it's always interesting coming down here.
Hold on.
Yes.
That hotel looks nice. The ones you used to stay in were, you said, crusty and not nice.
Was several of the times there was hypodermic needles outside of the hotels, and blood on the walls was like more often.
So not
than I'd like
a similar
to
hotel.
In a similar location, but not a similar hotel.
And by the way, you used the word "wers." I'm loving it.
Yeah. Again, no excuses, just ownership. I've been up since 3:30. It was a 6-hour something drive down here between charging my car and all that, working directly with clients. I haven't stopped. I'm sick. I'm riding the struggle bus, but we're going to get through it. Okay.
Good for you, man.
I appreciate it. I need a day. When I come back, I need to sleep a day or something, and we'll be back after that. All right. Why'd you want to do this episode? Because this was your idea. Actually, context. Let me give context real quick, because now I remembered what I wanted to say. The reason I'm in New Jersey is because I have clients down here that are also a podcast production company, and they're earlier, and they have maybe a handful of podcasts that they produce. And they said, hey, we've been working with a producer, and we're thinking of doing our own thing. So what do we get? How many cameras do we get? What kind of mics do we get? Nice. Audio interface, what do we need? And I sent them a list, and I said, I'm happy to come down and help you set it up if you want. And nice. I can walk you through the process. And what we did today in 3 hours, that might have taken them a week to figure out by themselves. They're very intelligent and super resourceful, so they obviously would have gotten it. But there's something about collapsing time when it comes to something like that. So that's the reason I'm down here, because I have clients that are humble enough to say, hey, we'd like you to coach us. Hey, we'd like you to mentor us. And one of the first things one of the owners said was, what should we be doing differently based on your perspective? Love that. I love that. That's a great place to start a conversation.
What'd you say?
I went into some specifics based on, it was just like logistic stuff that wouldn't really appeal to anybody watching or listening, but I had some feedback for them, for sure.
You mentioned collapsing time. That is the first time I've ever heard you say that.
I say a lot of shit when you're not around.
It's been 8 years, and I've never heard you talk about collapsing time, which I think is unreasonably valuable, crazy valuable. I was on a podcast earlier with a man named Thomas, and then I coached someone named Jack earlier. I will explain. Both are podcasters. In the interview with Thomas, he opened it up with, Alan is a coach. We are so grateful to have Alan here because the people at the top of every industry always attribute mentors and coaches to their success. A part of their success, obviously not all of it. But if you look at the people at the top of any space, they always have mentors and coaches. Always. There's almost no exception to that, actually. Even if they don't give credit to that, if you get behind the scenes, there's always mentors and coaches. No one I just figured it out myself. No one, of course not. So there's that. And I said, thank you. I'm really grateful you mentioned that, because coaching gets a bad rap, because a lot of people are snake oil, like terrible coaches. Quite frankly, like you and I have met people early on, and we coached this one person. We were helping her with mindset and podcasting. And at that point, we already had a successful podcast compared to her by 10x. And she was a social media marketing coach. And you and I looked at her social media. We're like, well, what do you mean? I would never come to you for that, right? Because we were coaching her on how to be a coach. And I said this on BGU. I said, if you're not top 1% in the thing, don't coach on the thing.
I disagree on that.
10%?
I think you have to be 2 to 3 levels ahead of the person you're helping. That's always been my thing. Because You're not, I mean, if you're coaching.
It's not that hard to be top 1% in something, though. Like, maybe this is a mathematical misunderstanding. If you take 100 random people in a room, you're top 1% in fitness, top 1% in podcasting, definitely top 1% in personal development, but it's a random sample.
Yeah, wouldn't it be top 1% of the thing that you're coaching in?
Of course. That's my point. That's
so
why
it
you
wouldn't be a random. It wouldn't be a random.
No. I meant top 1% globally. Like, if you took a random sample of 100 random humans on planet Earth, you need to be top 1%. So what did you say the bench press was for top 1%? You looked this up before?
It's like something like, I don't know, like 99% of people can't bench press 225, I think.
Yeah. So if you can bench press 225, you're in the top 1%. I don't mean top 1% of podcasters or top 1% of social media marketers. No, I meant I'm glad that you mentioned that because I wish I made that distinction on BGU. That's a mistake. I meant if you're top 1% in fitness out of 100 random humans on the street, globally, then you can be a coach in the thing. I don't mean top 1% of the industry, specifically with just industry experts. No, definitely not, which is probably why I said, what do you think, 10% or whatever? But at the end of the day, you need to be at the very high end of the thing compared to average human beings in order to coach in the thing, I think. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't be. But ultimately, that's not my point of this. My point of this is coaches and mentors. I was on with a guy named Jack earlier, and he's a young man. He's 22, I want to say. And he interviewed me on his podcast, and I asked him, I said, okay, whose career do you want? And he's talked about all these podcasters. Boom, boom. Chris Williamson's one of them, Modern Wisdom, the whole thing. And I could already tell by the way he was interviewing me, that he was kind of trying to beat Chris. And again, Jack, if you're listening, brother, all good. But he challenged me on a couple of things. I was like, okay, here we go. Let's do this. And I take nothing from that. I think it's good. But he did it respectfully. And I was on with him earlier, and I said, what's your intention for this call? We have a breakthrough session, 30 minutes, business breakthrough session. I said, I only offer these people to green, yellow, red. We go on podcasts and we say green means you're respectful and you're trying to help the world and you're heart driven. Red means you're an entitled, spoiled brat or a bully, just disrespectful and not good for the world. And I said, you're green, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Talk to me. What do you need? What can I give you? Totally free, no strings attached. He said, well, what do you think I need? I was like, perfect. That's what I hope you'd say. Because honestly, I already know the answer. I'm going to teach you everything we did, why we did it, how we did it, and then I'm going to tell you not to fucking do that and to definitely do it this way. If I could go back in time, I would do it this way. He's 22. He's got work ethic and drive. Definitely not to you and my extent, if I'm being honest. And I could tell by the interview him kind of challenging me on some work ethic stuff. And I was like, this is what I would do. So I took him through that. My point is, though, it took me 35 years to learn what I taught him today. And honestly, I had this fucking moment on this call where I was like, I know this is going to sound arrogant to everyone. I don't mean it that way. It is what it is if you think I am. I remember thinking, what I just taught him, he could never have learned on his own. It took me 35 years of like dissecting the entire industry to come up with this business model that I just taught him in 30 minutes. And I had this moment of like, I am truly jealous. I wish someone did that for us so bad. I really do. And whether or not he implements is another story, but I was drawing this all out on my Remarkable. I showed him our business model. I took him through every layer, how it all works. Like he'll never not know how to build an online business from now on. Whether or not he does is a whole nother fucking story. But it actually is pretty complicated to like make something so complex in the 21st century into something really simple and executable. And it's what I would tell us if I could go back 8 years ago. And we needed it bad, dude. And we had a lot of coaches and mentors real quick. They did not do nearly as good of a job as I just did with him. That is my truth. And if they did, I would have been way better off. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I had to learn this myself is because no one taught me it.
What are the cons? Because I think everybody is very familiar with the pros of somebody that is living the life that you desire essentially is going to tell you how to do it or how they did it or where they went wrong or all of that stuff. That's a huge piece of it. The experience that comes with it. There are just some questions that, like I helped clients set up cameras today. That's not my jam. but I've been around cameras enough to know how to work them. And when there's just certain things that come with it. Just like if you're a mechanic, like, there's pieces of it that aren't necessarily tied to being a mechanic, but there's crossover enough where you're higher than the average person for sure. That comes with experience. So what are the cons? Because I think the pros are what people are after, right?
Well, the pro is condensing time. What I just taught him in 30 minutes took me, a decade minimum to learn. However, you still have to do it, right? And I obviously know it better than what he just learned in 30 minutes. So there's that. Okay. The pro is, what did you call it? Contracting time? You used the word. Collapsing time. That is the reason why books are so valuable. You can get 10 years of someone's life in 5 hours of reading. It's unreal how much you can do, and ChatGPT and research, and it's unbelievable. That's the pro. The con is a lot of people are lying. The con is a lot of people don't actually know how they really did it. Like, I actually took him through how we really did it. Now, there is the narrative bias of I condensed 8 years into, 10 minutes, which obviously there's more to it. There's more distinctions than I could give. One of the reasons why podcasting annoys me is because in one-on-one coaching, I can go through each distinction and I can draw it out. With podcasting, I can't draw it out, so I can't get it out. I don't know how to. I feel like my hands are tied behind my back a little bit when I teach. But what I was able to teach him, I had a digital asset up of our entire business model on one side of the screen. I had my Remarkable on the other side of the screen. I said, this is what we built. This is how we did it. This is how it works. This is why we did it this way. This over here on the right is what I would do if I could go back. And it was just so good. And I think the cons are most people, a lot of mentors and coaches do not know how they actually did it. They don't have all the distinctions. It's almost like if the recipe is, here's all the ingredients, here's how long you cook it, here's how you do it on the stove, here's how you do it in the oven, here's how you this for this time. It's almost like they know some of the recipe. They know that their mailing list was a part of it, but they don't know that the mailing list was only 13.7% of my true success, right? And I think that as an engineer, I take everything apart and I try to see what percent made the difference. I'm always doing that. Like, what percent of Kevin's success was actually me? What percentage of my success was actually Kevin? What percentage of our success was one of our mentors? Not high. But one of our mentors I'm thinking of, it was actually pretty good. Like Evan, for example, what percentage of our success was that mentor? It's like bigger than most. Certainly the biggest out of all the mentors we've ever had, for sure. And so the cons are the mentor doesn't actually know how they did it. And they certainly don't know what made the biggest impact in terms of what percentage, and they don't know you well enough to apply it to you. And the 21st century is way different. So the way they did it, it has obviously changed, because imagine someone in YouTube in 2009 versus 2025. It's not even close to the same game.
I have one that I guarantee is not on your radar at all. Some people like to be a mentor because it makes them feel important. And they're not actually helping. They're like stroking their own ego by saying, well, I'm ahead of this person. They're going to listen to what I say. I think that is so common.
Really?
I think that is such a common thing. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It sounds dumb.
I have been on podcasts with people that have like 30 or 40 episodes that then go on to call themselves like a guru of podcasting. You couldn't possibly know enough to add that level of value.
Yeah, it's like you've been investing for 40 days versus 40 years.
Yeah.
You just
I think it just
possibly, yeah.
It feels good to brand yourself as something and then try to mentor people. But I think that is putting the cart in front of the horse for a lot of people. But again, a lot of people stroke their egos on, I'm important, I know this, I have power, I have leverage, and I can impact your life at a really deep level.
Yeah, the significance thing is dangerous.
For sure.
Anything that's significance driven always has to do with that person more than it has to do with you. And I'm guilty of that too, but not near, like, my main intention, my main motivator was to genuinely help this young man. Was there certain parts where I got to like with this and all that stuff. One of my biggest issues is I think people think that I'm significance driven more than I really am.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say that's fair.
Yeah, because it comes off very similar. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, must be a duck. And
well, it's hard. It's hard when you are responsible for such a large percentage of it. How do you? I mean, you have to take ownership for it. What are you supposed to say? I
always used to say, I don't want credit. No, I don't need credit, but I do need credibility.
Yeah.
And if you're a business coach, and I was on the podcast earlier, and I talked about how the first 2 years you and I only grossed a total of $13,000. Living in Massachusetts, that was just poverty, straight poverty. And in the last 2 years, so 2024 and 2025 combined, assuming things continue on the way they're going, we're going to exceed $900,000. And he was like, whoa, good for you. And I said, I appreciate it. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it so people know that I actually know. Like, I'm only saying it. I don't want to fucking talk about our success. Are you kidding me? I don't want to talk about that at all. I have no choice. Oh, you have 23 clients and you're so successful. I don't care. I just know you won't work with me if you don't know that I'm helping hundreds of people. And if I'm not a profitable business owner, you're not going to work with me. So if it was up to me, I would never say a goddamn word about it. Right?
Well, that is the hard thing with this. Somebody the other day, they were like, I can tell that you're a really good leader and your team is very lucky to have a leader like you. And I said, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm a fucking coward. Like I am terrible at giving people feedback. I think people like me more and they respect Alan more because I'm afraid to give them feedback. And I said, it's very, you have to remember, after this episode, I go live a life and I fuck things up. And I have disagreements with my wife, and I have disagreements with, that is the way it goes. That's one of the best things ever. One of the best quotes I've ever gotten from anybody was one of our clients, John Laredo. He said, the press is never right. The press is always wrong. You're never as good as they say. You're never as bad as they say. I think that's a dangerous thing with mentors is some of them are going to tell you you're fucking terrible when statistically you're better than many. And other mentors are going to tell you you're great when you're really not. And that can delude you too, because a lot of reasons, obviously.
I have last one. I know we got 8 minutes till group coaching.
Yeah, I need a minute to prep.
Yeah, I need to share this because I can't not. I think it's the mission. It's what we're here for. I know it's what we're here for. We're here to unveil and pull back the curtain on whatever is accurate to help people. So one of the cons, you and I had a mentor in the past who had a quote unquote $150 million net worth. Quote unquote. Mm-hmm. Now I realize in hindsight, I didn't know this back then, but you didn't know how to calculate net worth. So you didn't know what that actually meant.
No.
Yeah.
And very honestly, that was a lot of that was like significance. It was like, oh, this person is very successful and they believe in us. That means we're going to be successful too.
For me, it was nothing to do with any of that because I already had mentors that had, it's not, and again, I'm not trying to make you wrong for that. I just want to help other people who, brother, don't get me wrong. I've steered us wrong a lot. Like you would have been in some trouble. And the reason why is because you didn't actually know what that meant. Like now that you know what that means, you do realize that that's not actually, he doesn't have $150 million in his bank account. Right. No one. He owns percentage of a company that's valued, quote unquote, at that. And by the way, after 2008, I'm pretty sure most of that was gone. So I don't know what the real number is, right? And it's very hard to calculate that. And it can go up and down in a day. You ever hear someone say, oh, I lost $3 billion yesterday. It's like, no, you didn't. Your company is now valued, quote unquote, at that lower price, and you own a certain percentage of it. So if you don't know how to calculate net worth, I can say, hey, my net worth is X, and you will actually think it means more than it does.
Right.
And back then, I remember you telling me that, and I was like, dude, did you notice a shift in me at all? It was like,
no.
Right. And so I think, to me, it was like, first of all, no. Google's wrong about that, for sure. It's not that high anymore. It probably was before 2008 when everything collapsed. Okay? Is that clear to you now, obviously?
Real estate, that was a big thing. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now I'm sure it's like way less than that now. But at the end of the day, my point is these vanity metrics, like when I say we have reached 1.4 million people, do you know what that actually means? Right? And I think that's what I would give to everyone is you have no choice in this space but to share credibility. So 2,200 episodes, we have to share that because it's credibility. We've done this 2,200 times. That means we're not just another podcast who might be gone tomorrow, right? But there's a double-edged sword with that, which is if you aren't in the industry, you might think that means more than it does. And I actually think that's a process metric, which actually means a lot. 2,200 episodes means we've really put in the work. I think that matters more than some vanity metric, especially with what we talked about with people buying and botting YouTube views. So at the end of the day, I just want to protect people from ignorance, which is, I know so many people in the personal development space that know that no one knows how to calculate net worth. So they'll just say these numbers that are first of all, embellished, and secondly, don't mean what people think they mean. And it's really hard to witness that. When you own 1/4 of a company that ended up being valued at $1 billion, you end up a multimillionaire, but you didn't actually do it yourself. And I don't think anyone knows that. Like, you didn't do it.
The other three people aren't around to speak for themselves.
Exactly. And
that's what I do when you're not around. So. Brick by fucking brick. Yeah, by myself, baby.
By myself, from laptop lifestyle from
Honestly,
the hotel.
One of the reasons it's so hard is because I always try to tell people the truth. I say it all the time.
Yeah. It's almost like you can't... People think we're putting ourselves down. No. We're actually trying to be honest. Like,
yeah, I think
I'm not saying we're not great. That's not it. It's just, it's not what you think it is. I had someone who I've learned a lot from, I know we got to go, say we're going to reach 1.5 billion people this year. It's like, no, you're not. That's physically impossible. There's only 8 billion people on planet Earth. There's only 5.65 billion people online. Like, trust me, I've toted your book. Like, no one even knows it exists. Like, no, you're not. You're just saying a metric that you think is true. And I don't think this person's lying. I actually think they're that ignorant. I think they actually think they're reaching 1.5 billion people. It's like, of course you're not. COVID didn't even touch 1.5 billion people, right? Like, you're out of your mind with that. But I don't think people know, right? Do people know how many countries there are? You and I heard someone say, heard in over 220 countries. It's like, we say 180 countries, and we're conservative with that because there's only...
It wasn't even that they were heard. This was an ad for a company that could get you heard in 220 countries. And somebody reached out. Shout out to Richard. He's like, hey, do you think this is bullshit? And I said, there's only 195 countries, so... Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably bullshit. All right, we got to hop for real because we got group coaching.
Yeah.
Right now, we could do a part 2 on this if you want. I don't know. But yeah, this is one of those things. One of the hard parts of having a mentor is knowing what not to listen to, as much as knowing what to do with the good stuff that you hear. All right, book club every Saturday if you're looking for a live mentor in front of you who has walked the talk and read all the books that you're going to read, which is super helpful. Book club every Saturday, led by the one and only Alan Lazarus. I don't lead anything anymore because I've kind of been kicked out of most things, but I'm here if you need me. If there's anything I can do to add value, just let me know. NextLevelUniverse.com is the website. We have all this stuff up there. Masterclasses every first Thursday of the month. A bunch of stuff going on. All right, cool. We're going to pop. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And if you are as committed as you say you are to getting to the next level, make sure you tune in tomorrow because we will be here to help you get there.
Keep reaching for your full potential. Next Level Nation.